Today's topic is cerebellum. This is a structure of brain. Here the blue structure is showing the cerebrum and orange one shows the structure of cerebellum. Objectives are location, anatomy, cerebellar cortex, functional and phylogenetic division, connection of cerebellum, sign of cerebellar dysfunction, testing, functions, and cerebellar rehabilitation. First, we start with the location of cerebellum. This orange color structure shows the cerebellum. The term cerebellum is from Latin meaning the little brain. Cerebellum is known as little brain. It's a part of hindbrain situated in the posterior cranial fossa. There are the three parts of hindbrain: pons, medulla oblongata, and cerebellum. It's present behind the pons and medulla oblongata. Here is pons and this is a medulla oblongata. The cerebellum is situated just behind the pons and medulla. And this structure is separated by the cavity of fourth ventricular. Here is the cavity of fourth ventricle. The cerebellum is covered by the tentorium cerebri. This one is the tentorium cerebri. This covering. And it's connected by the brainstem by three cerebellar peduncles. That is a superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, and inferior cerebellar peduncles. Next is 3 cerebellum mnemonic. There are the 3 lobe, anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and foculonodular lobe. 3 fissure, primary fissure, horizontal fissure, and posterior fissure. 3 layer, molecular layer, Purkinje layer, and granular layer. 3 fibers, climbing fibers, Mosey fibers, and Purkinje fibers. 3 peduncle, superior cerebellar peduncles, middle cerebellar peduncles, and inferior cerebellar peduncles. 3 phylogenetic division, archicerebellum, paliocerebellum, and neocerebellum. 3 functional division, vestibulocerebellum, spinocerebellum, and cerebrocerebellum. 3 arteries, anterior inferior cerebellar artery, posterior inferior cerebellar artery, and superior cerebellar artery. Now start with the anatomy of cerebellum. 3 parts: right hemisphere and left hemisphere. In the middle one is vermis. This is a vermis. 3 fissures: primary fissures, horizontal fissure, and posterior fissure. 3 lobes: anterior lobe, posterior lobe, and foculonodular lobe. Horizontal fissure. This is a horizontal fissure. This fissure separates the superior surface of cerebellum to the inferior surface of cerebellum. Next, primary fissure. It separates the anterior lobe from the middle lobe or a posterior lobe. This one is the primary fissure. Next is posterior lateral fissure. Posterior lateral fissure. It separates the middle lobe to the flocculonodular lobe. Cerebellum consists of two matter, outer gray and inner white matter. Here is the outer gray matter. Gray matter consists of cerebellar cortex and cerebellar nuclei. And here is the inner white matter. Next is cerebellar cortex. It composed of three layers. Outer layer is a molecular layer, is also known as plexiform layer. Intermediate layer is a Purkinje layer, and inner layer is a granular layer. Outer layer, middle layer, and inner layer. Outer is molecular, middle is a Purkinje, and inner is a granular layer. The outer molecular layer is a consist of two cells. These are the star-shaped cell, is also known as satellite cell. And here is a basket cell. It consists of two cells, satellite cell and basket cell. Purkinje layer only consists of Purkinje cell. And granular layer consists of two cells, Golgi cell and granular cell. Cerebellar cortex. This is the structure of cortex of the cerebellum. And the outer layer is a molecular layer, middle layer is a Purkinje layer, and inner is a granular layer. These are the gray matter of cerebellum. Gray matter. Then start with white matter. Molecular layer consists of two cells, satellite cell, and here is a basket cell. And Purkinje cell layer only consists of Purkinje cell. Granular layer consists of Golgi cell and granular cell. There are the three fibers of cerebellum: climbing fiber, Mosey fiber, and Purkinje fiber. Climbing fibers are excitatory and Mosey fibers are also excitatory, and Purkinje fibers are inhibitory. Molecular layer. Outermost layer, superficial layer consists star-shaped cell, that is also known as satellite cell. Deep layer contain basket cell. Then Purkinje layer consists of Purkinje cell. This is the intermediate layer. Thinnest layer. It consists single layer of cells called Purkinje cell. Purkinje cell are called final common pathway because all the impulse from the cortex to the other part of the brain go from these cells. These are the final common pathway. The last one is granular layer. Innermost layer formed by granular cell and Golgi cell. Afferent fiber to cerebellar cortex. Afferent fiber are sensory. These are the two fibers, climbing fibers and mosey fibers. Climbing fibers coming from the medulla via inferior olivary nucleus. And next is a mosey fiber coming from the old part of the brain via spinocerebellar tract and a vestibulocerebellar tract. Both are excitatory. And efferent fibers are motor fibers. Purkinje fibers are inhibitory. Facilitatory and inhibitory connection of cerebellar cortex. Start with 3-layer molecular layer, Purkinje layer, and granular layer. Molecular layer contain basket cell and satellite cell. Purkinje layer contain Purkinje cell and Golgi layer contain Golgi cell and granular cell. 3 fibers, molecular fibers, climbing fibers and Purkinje fiber. Molecular fiber and climbing fiber are facilitatory and Purkinje fiber are inhibitory in nature. To start with molecular fibers, these fibers coming from the vestibulocerebellar and spinocerebellar tract to facilitate the deep cerebellar nuclei and facilitate the granular cell. And climbing fibers coming from the medulla via inferior olivary nucleus. 2. Climbing fibers collater facilitate the deep cerebellar nuclei. And these deep cerebellar nuclei inhibit the inferior olivary nucleus. And Purkinje fiber is inhibitory. Purkinje fiber inhibit the basket cell and satellite cell. Basket cell inhibit the Purkinje cell. And the Purkinje cell also inhibit the deep cerebellar nuclei. This is the normal connection of the cerebellar cortex. Next is cerebellar nuclei. On each side there are the 4 nucleus. From we start with lateral to medial. Lateral include dentate nucleus, then emboliform nucleus, globose nucleus and vestigial nucleus. These are the 4 nuclei of cerebellum. Next is connection of cerebellum with the brainstem. Cerebellum connect with brainstem with the help of 3 peduncles. Superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle and inferior cerebellar peduncle. Superior is connect with the midbrain, middle is connect with the pons and inferior is connect with the medulla oblongata. This is a superior cerebellar peduncle that connect with midbrain, and here is the middle cerebellar peduncle that connect with the pons, and here is the inferior cerebellar peduncle that connect with the medulla oblongata. And here is the cavity of fourth ventricle. Next is division of cerebellum. There are the 3 functional and 3 phylogenetic subdivision of cerebellum. 3 functional and 3 phylogenetic division of cerebellum. Functional division are vestibulocerebellum, spinocerebellum and cerebrocerebellum. Phylogenetic division are archicerebellum, paleocerebellum and neocerebellum. First we start with the archicerebellum. Green color show the archicerebellum. It consists of flocculonodular lobe and anterior lobe of lingula. It connect with the vestibular and it help in the maintenance of balance and control eye movements. Next is paleocerebellum. It consists of anterior lobe and the pyramid and uvula of posterior lobe. It connect with the spine and help in the maintain of the muscle tone and coordination of the movement. And last one is neocerebellum. Neocerebellum is consist of the posterior lobe except pyramid and uvula. And the function of the neocerebellum is to help planning of the voluntary activities. Subdivision of cerebellum. First is archicerebellum. Phylogenetic is the older part and anatomically it consists of flocculonodular lobe and lingula and it connect with the vestibular, hence it is called vestibulocerebellum. It concerned with the maintenance of body equilibrium. Second is paleocerebellum. Next part 2 developed. And anatomically it consists of the anterior lobe and pyramid or uvula of posterior lobe. It connects to spinal cord, hence it is called spinocerebellum. It concerned with maintenance of muscle tone. Third is neocerebellum. Recent part to develop. It consists of posterior lobe except pyramid and uvula. It connects with the cerebellar cortex. Hence, it is called cerebrocerebellum. It's responsible for the fine coordination of the voluntary movement. This is the tabular subdivision of the cerebellum. First, phylogenetic division, archicerebellum, paleocerebellum and neocerebellum. Second is the anatomical component. It consists of the flocculonodular lobe and lingula, and periocerebellum consists of the anterior lobe except lingula and pyramid and uvula. The neocerebellum consists of the posterior lobe except pyramid and uvula. Next is chief connection. Archicerebellum connect with the vestibular apparatus, paleocerebellum connect with the spinal cord and neocerebellum connect with the bones. Then functions. Archicerebellum maintain the equilibrium of the body and paleocerebellum help to maintain the muscle tone, and new cerebellum help to maintain the coordination of the body. Next is functional classification. Archicerebellum is known as vestibulocerebellum, paliocerebellum is known as spinocerebellum, and neocerebellum is known as cerebrocerebellum. The cerebellar efferent pathways. Efferent fibers are sensory. These pathways are towards the cerebellum. Efferents from the cerebellar cortex. There are the three important pathways, that is corticopontocerebellar, cerebro-olivocerebellar, and cerebro-reticulocerebellar. Function of these three tracts is to convey control from the cerebellar cortex. And the corticoponto and cerebro-olivocerebellar tract originate from the cortex, that is a four-lobe frontal, parietal, occipital and temporal lobe, and these tracts are destined towards the cerebellar cortex. And cerebro-reticulocerebellar tract originate from the sensoromotor areas and terminate into the cerebellar cortex via reticular formation. Representation of these three tracts. First is corticopontocerebellar tract. These tracts start from the cortex, then pass to the pontine nucleus. Here is the pontine nucleus, and enter the cerebellar cortex via middle cerebellar peduncle. This is a middle cerebellar peduncle. And second is cortico-reticulocerebellar pathway. These tracts start from the cortex, then pass to the reticular formation and enter the cerebellar cortex by the middle cerebellar peduncle and inferior cerebellar peduncle. Third is cortico-olivocerebellar pathway. Start from the cortex, then pass through the inferior olivary nucleus in the medulla oblongata and enter the cerebellar cortex by the inferior cerebellar peduncle. These are the three efferent fibers. The cerebellar efferent pathways. Efferent pathways are away from the cerebellum. These are the four important pathways, that is globose emboliform rubral pathway, dendrothalamic pathway, fastigial vestibular pathway, and fastigial reticular pathway. These are the four pathways. And the function of the globose emboliform rubral pathway is influence the ipsilateral motor activity. It controls the movement of the same side. And these tracts originate from the globose nucleus and emboliform nucleus, as the name suggests, globose emboliform rubral pathway. From the origin of these two nucleus, these pathways connect with the rubrospinal tract to the ipsilateral motor neuron in the spinal cord. And the second dendrothalamic pathway, same is the function of the dendrothalamic pathway, that is to control the same side of motor activity. And these tracts originate from the dentate nucleus, as the name suggests. From the dentate nucleus, these fibers are emerged to the corticospinal tract to the ipsilateral motor neuron in the spinal cord. And third is the fastigial vestibular pathway. The function of this pathway is to control the ipsilateral extensor muscle tone. And these pathway originate from the fastigial nucleus of the deep cerebellar nuclei. From the origin of this nucleus, these tracts emerge with the vestibulospinal tract to ipsilateral motor neuron in the spinal cord. And the last one is the fastigial reticular pathway. The function of this pathway is to influence the ipsilateral muscle tone. And these pathways originate from the fastigial nucleus, then destinate via reticulospinal tract to ipsilateral motor neuron in the spinal cord. Representation of the efferent pathways. First we label the structure. This is the cerebral cortex. And here is the thalamus. And this one is the red nucleus of midbrain. And here is the vestibular nucleus. And this one is the reticular formation. And here is the superior cerebellar peduncle, middle cerebellar peduncle, and inferior cerebellar peduncle. There are the four main efferent pathway. First is globose emboliform rubral pathway. Second is dendrothalamic pathway. Third is fastigial vestibular pathway. And fourth one is the fastigial reticular pathway. These are the four efferent pathways. And first start with the globose emboliform rubral pathway. These pathways start from the globose and emboliform nucleus of cerebellum, and this pathway enter the red nucleus via the superior cerebellar peduncle, and this pathway terminate as a rubrospinal tract. Second is dendrothalamic pathway. These tracts originate from the dentate nucleus of the cerebellum and enter the thalamus via superior cerebellar peduncle, and these tracts terminate as a corticospinal fibers. And third one is the fastigial vestibular pathway. These pathway originate from the fastigial nucleus of the cerebellum and enter the vestibular nucleus, and these pathway terminate as a vestibulospinal tract. And fourth is the fastigial reticular pathway. These pathway originate from the fastigial nucleus of the cerebellum and these tracts enter the reticular formation via inferior cerebellar peduncle, and these tracts terminate as a reticulospinal tract. These are the four common efferent pathways. Here we conclude that the cerebellum controls the movement of the same side of the body. Cerebellar circulation. There are the three arteries, that is superior cerebellar artery, anterior inferior cerebellar artery, and posterior inferior cerebellar artery. The superior cerebellar artery and anterior inferior cerebellar artery is a branch of basilar artery, and posterior inferior cerebellar artery is a branch of vertebral artery. These are the three important arterial supply of cerebellum. Now, functions of cerebellum. There are the three important functions, that is equilibrium, coordination, and maintain of muscle tone. First is maintenance of the equilibrium, like balance, posture, and eye movement. Second is coordination of the half automatic movement of the walking and posture maintenance, like posture maintenance and gait maintenance, and it control the same side of the body. Third is adjustment of the muscle tone, and fourth is motor learning and help in the maintain of the cognitive function. Sign of cerebellar dysfunction. First is asthenia. Asthenia means muscle weakness. Second is dysdiadochokinesia. It means inability to perform rapid alternating movement. Third is dysmetria. It means inability to control the distance. Fourth is dyssynergia. It means inability to control the voluntary movement. Fourth is dysarthria. It means slurred speech. Next is ataxia. It means impaired coordination during walking. Next is titubation. It means the nodding movement of the head and neck. Next is tremor. It means there is an involuntary shaking movement. Then rebound phenomena and nystagmus. Nystagmus means rapid involuntary eye movement, and hypotonia. It means there is a decrease in the muscle tone. These are the common signs of the cerebellar disease or a cerebellar injury. Disease of cerebellum. There are the two types of disease, that is hereditary and acquired cerebellar disease. In hereditary, there are the two diseases, that is Friedreich ataxia and spinocerebellar ataxia. In acquired disease, there are the five diseases, that is vascular, Wallenberg syndrome, and superior cerebellar artery infarct. Second is degenerative disease, that is a multisystem atrophies. And third is a demyelinating disease, that is a multiple sclerosis. And fourth is toxic metabolic, that is due to the alcohol use. And fifth is neoplastic, that is a cerebellar neoplasm. These are the disease of the cerebellum. And spinocerebellar ataxia is a common disease. Next is cerebellar function test for the upper limb and lower limb. Five tests are for upper limb, that is finger nose test, finger to finger test, writing, buttoning, and a diadochokinesia test. And lower limbs are heel to knee test and walk on a straight line. These are the two common tests. These are the four tests. First is finger to nose test. And second is the rapid alternating movement test, that is a pronation and the supination of the forearm, and opposition of the thumb, and abduction and the adduction of the shoulder. These are the rapid alternating movement test. Then third is the test for balance, that is a feet together and tandem stance. And fourth one is the heel to shin test. Next is to test the motor function of the lower limb. These are the balance test. First is gait. Walk 10 to 20 feet, then turn and walk back the other way. Gait may be smooth and coordinated. Second is the tandem walk. This is the tandem walk. Second test is a Romberg test. This is a Romberg test in which feet together, arm at the side and eyes closed, and hold for the 20 seconds. If there is a no sway present, that is the negative Romberg. These are the tests for the lower limb. Now start cerebellar rehabilitation. Goal of rehab. First is to promote postural stability. Second is to improve balance. Third is to improve and maintain gait pattern. Fourth is to improve coordination. Fifth is to prevent falls. Sixth is to improve posture and proprioception. Balance training. First is static balance control. It includes double limb stance. Second is single leg stance. That is a single leg standing. Third is tandem stance. This is our tandem stance. And fourth is the static exercise on the Swiss ball. These are the static balance controlling exercises, that is a help to improve the static balance. Second is dynamic balance exercises. Static marching, wobbling board exercises. This is a wobble board. And third is the stepping exercises, stepping while standing and side stepping. And next is the climbing stairs. Next is kneeling with the arm movement. And the last is the squatting and lunges. And the dynamic exercises on the Swiss board, that is these all the exercises help to improve the dynamic balance. Now start with coordination exercises. First is the fine motor skills. Require coordinated movement of the small muscle, that is a muscle of the hand and face. Example are including writing, drawing, buttoning a shirt and blowing bubbles. Second is the gross motor skills. That is require coordinated movement of the large muscle or a group of muscles. That is a muscle of the trunk and extremities. Examples are including walking, running and lifting activities. Third is the hand-eye skills. The ability of the visual system to coordinate visual information. Examples are catching a ball, swing, and computer mouse use. These are the coordinated exercises. These coordination exercises help to improve the coordination of the body, and it helps to improve the coordination. Diagrammatic representation of the Frinkel's exercises. This is a star shape exercise that help to improve the coordination. Second is heel to shin exercises. Third is finger to nose test. And fifth is leg abduction and the adduction. And second is the bending of knee. And third is the sit to stand. And last is the tandem walking. These are the Frinkel exercises help to improve the coordination of. Next is intervention to improve gait and locomotion. It helps to improve with walking. There are the different type of walking, that is forward walking, backward walking, sideways walking, tandem walking, and exercise on treadmill. These help to improve our gait pattern and locomotion, and also help to improve the balance of the body. References. Thank you.